All right, everybody, we're sitting here talking to Eryk Anders. How's it going?
Man, I'm doing awesome. And yourself?
We're doing pretty good on Friday. Um, Now you're just a little bit different from most of our guests. We've talked to a couple um,
MMA,
MMA boxing
boxers.
guys, but tell us a little bit about yourself, for because most of our guests are football players. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas. Played college football at the University of Alabama, where I won a national championship. Um, Got on with the free agency stint with the Cleveland Browns. Also with the Calgary Stampeders, and then a little bit of arena football. And then as soon as that was all over with, man, I started doing MMA and eventually made my way to the UFC.
Dang, it's a pretty busy career.
Oh, yeah, I like to stay busy. I did the 9 to 5 thing, working, the desk job thing, but it's just not for me. So I need to find another outlet.
Well,
I
well,
think you found the right one.
yeah, I would say you
I
found the
think
right
so
one.
too.
So we like doing a lot of college football and NFL interviews, and one of our guys that one of our friends that listens a lot, he is probably the biggest Alabama fan of all time. So we just wanted to ask you a little bit about the Alabama football program and how it was for you.
Oh man, it was awesome. When I first got there, we were Mike Shula coach, and after my redshirt freshman year, he got fired, and they brought in Nick Saban, and he totally revamped the culture and the atmosphere with the program, from the locker room to the, you know, you could even feel the vibe on campus. That first year he was there, I think some of the upperclassmen didn't buy in to the program or the things that he was talking about, and it kind of trickled down to the younger guys. But then next year, it was totally opposite. So that first year Saban was there, we went 6-6 or 7-6, I believe. And that second year we went 12-2. And then that third year I was there, we won a national championship. And ever since then, it seems like every other year that they're playing for the championship. So
You,
hard to argue with my man's results.
Oh, definitely.
yeah, and Mike Shula was there. You said your freshman year.
Yeah, my redshirt freshman and freshman year.
Dang, man, that's pretty. We're from Charlotte, so we're Panthers fans. He was just our
Oh,
offensive
okay. Yeah,
coordinator
yeah, yeah.
just last year.
Is he still the QB coach up there?
Well, he got promoted. He was offensive coordinator for a while, and then I think whenever they started bringing in these new weapons like Christian McCaffrey, and I think they wanted to kind of change the whole offense, so they got new they got Norv Turner from Minnesota, and so I think I think they just wanted to get a new like kind of coaching staff overall. But I liked it
Yeah,
when Mike Shula was here.
Yeah, we liked Mike Shula. A lot of people were politicking to get him fired, but we were sitting here like, guys, he just took us to the Super Bowl like 2 years ago. What are y'all talking about?
yeah. It's crazy. The world of sports. There's no loyalty
No,
uh, from fans or from management. So I think the world of sports, you kind of have to have thick skin, and it's very much so. What have you done for me lately? Kind of thing.
Yeah, and especially like we were watching when they were 2-14. I knew what it was like, and I saw what Mike Shula was doing when he was here. I would much rather have what he was doing. Like he completely turned the offense around, if you ask me. So I think sometimes people like forget really how much somebody does or whatever.
Sure.
and what'd you think about playing with Saban? What was it like, kind of playing under him?
Man, he was very much so. All his recruits, they're in the 98th percentile in terms of athletic ability when you relate it to size, speed, strength, and all those attributes, right? So he's very much so on the. Um, he's an X's and O's guy, but he already knows that he's got the best athletes on the field. So he makes sure that to have the most prepared athlete on the field as well. That he had the game film and stuff broken down to the point where, we're coming to the meetings on Monday. Monday's our long meeting day. And, we go over the game plan and whatever. And he would have it broken down to the point where, we would see on paper, if it's 1st and 10 on their 20 coming out and this guy's here and they motion him there, it's 90% chance of running this play. So as a defense, when you're out there, man, you're just looking for your cues, see who's motioning, what formation and whatnot, what yard line, the down, the distance. So we already know what play is being run. So if you got the best players the best athletes on the field, and they know where the ball is going, it makes it really difficult to beat those guys.
And
That's crazy.
what years were you playing at Alabama? Like what, like the actual like years?
My redshirt freshman year was 2006, and my last season was 09.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Ended off with a title, so that's the way to do it.
Oh yeah, I definitely went out on a high note.
So like whenever you got picked up by the Browns, did you go like undrafted or did you get picked up late or something?
It was a free agency thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I got cut during camp. Went to Canada. Similar situation, and played a year in Marina Ball and said, "Forget it. I'm done with football."
What in what position were you?
He was a linebacker.
Linebacker. Okay.
Yeah, outside linebacker.
And I know you fight at like 185. Were you a little bit bigger like whenever you were playing football, about 210 or something maybe?
Man, the biggest I got was about 250.
Oh, for real?
Jesus.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
But it was a little bit different. When I was in college, I probably played like 225, 230. And so when I was in college, I was way undersized, especially for shoeless or savings defense. So I was on like a catfish diet. Eat anything all the time. So with MMA, not only the workouts like way different, so you just naturally lost weight, but I'm on the opposite. I eat really clean, really healthy when I have a fight coming up. So I probably walk around the same, about 220. But I'm definitely a lot leaner, and when I run about 4 miles a day. So
yeah, that was about to be my next question. What's your walk around weight? That was literally what I was waiting to ask that. But dang, so you cut almost 40 pounds to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Gosh,
they don't get twisted. In between fights, I'm eating burgers and pizza and whatnot.
You have to, absolutely.
Yeah, that's our diet.
I wrestled all through high school, so I know how like in the season and then how it is off season. You go freaking crazy whenever you're not.
Yeah. That stuff is just good for the soul, man.
Oh yeah, you got it. I mean, because you go so long without it. You go months, and like because our wrestling season in North Carolina, it's from like October to like March. So I mean, you go the whole time with nothing, and you're like, when this thing's over, oh my God, I'm going so hard. But
I need that. So
did you wrestle in high school or anything?
I got JV level experience. We moved around quite a bit. So I wrestled 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and then we moved to Texas. And football race supreme there, so we didn't have a wrestling team in my school. So we went to. I pretty much played football and ran track year round.
Dang.
So what kind of made you, like, whenever you were done with football, what kind of made you lean towards going towards MMA?
Well, like I said, I was doing the 9-to-5 thing, working jobs, and I was just bored, like sitting still, sitting behind a desk. That's not really for me. So I walked into a gym one day, just blew up a little steam, trained a little bit, ended up sparring with Walt Harris, and fell in love with the sport right then and there.
What gym was your very first gym?
It was called Champions.
Dang, that's crazy. How that's just unbelievable. And then look what it's turned into. That's crazy. And and you started out. Did you start out like Did you start out in Bellator?
No, so I did the local circuit, the regional circuit for a while. I was within my first 6 fights, and then my 7th fight, Bellator came to Memphis, and when these people travel, like Bellator and stuff, they always look to local promotions to fill up the undercard, with fighters, because those are the guys that are going to attract crowds and stuff. Everyone wants to see their local guy fight. So I live here in Birmingham, which is 4 miles away. So they asked Rod Goldman with V3 to kind of match the undercard and whatnot. And so, I've always performed well for them. I was their belt holder at 205, actually. And so he called me and said, "Hey, I got this Bellator opportunity. What's up?" And of course, I chomped at the bit, took it, knocked the guy out in 23 seconds. And that was that for Bellator.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's a pretty good little stint right there.
And then you moved on to Legacy after that, right?
Yep.
Dang, and won their championship. That's insane. That's so crazy. And so what was it like whenever you so did the UFC kind of do the same thing? They just kind of come around you whenever you signed with them first, or?
Well, no, it was a totally different situation with the UFC. So I won Legacy's belt, and there were more fighters in the UFC from Legacy than any other promotion in the world. So after I won their belt, Rafael Natal had like 3 opponents drop out due to injury or what have you. So they gave me the call on like 10 days notice. I took it, knocked him out, and has fought twice and looking to get in there and fight again.
Yeah, we watched that fight last night. If you haven't seen it and you're listening, you definitely need to go back and watch that one.
Yeah, we sat down and watched all your fights last night on the UFC. We got the Fight Pass, so those are the only 3 they got on there.
Yeah.
I guess because they're not going to put anybody else's brand on there or whatever. But yeah, that fight right there, that is one of the stiffest KOs I have ever seen in my life. That left hand is deadly. I mean, he was like...
I want no part of it.
He was like out before he ever even hit the ground, and then you followed it up with like a hammer fist down on top of it. It was just like, oh my gosh, that dude he was long gone.
Oh, yeah, the follow-up shot is mandatory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, until the ref pulls you off, I mean, freaking... Or, stops the fight or whatever, you keep going. I mean, that was...
Was that the one where the dude went into the cage? Or was that the other one?
Yeah, we were going to ask you about that. Was that the fight where I think you hit him with a kick maybe, and he ran all the way across the octagon and ran face first into the cage?
Same one. Yeah, it's the same fight.
We were like, how do you even react to that?
I was like, I wouldn't even know what to follow up next offensively, because that's just so crazy.
I mean, you sent him all the way across the whole octagon.
It was a fun one for me for sure.
And a heck of a debut. I mean,
what's it like whenever you start off with the UFC? Did they just contact you and call you and say hey, we'd like to get you on this card? Or
well, I got a manager in Jason House, and he's the one who kind of threw my name in the hat when Natal's opponents kept falling out. Say, hey, I got a guy for you. So and like I said, there's more fighters from Legacy than any other promotion. I was Legacy's belt holder, so. Who better to call than me? Yeah.
Well, I would say they made the right decision because that was, I don't know how it didn't win KO of the night or something like that. I don't know how it didn't.
I definitely didn't get a performance bonus, but, I had to be in the running.
I seriously don't get how it didn't. And so the question I'm sure you get asked all the time, well, at least since February, Lyoto Machida, what's it like when you know you're about to fight that guy? Because that's like a legend.
Yeah, I didn't approach that fight any different than I do any other fight. I kind of, did the same thing. I always train. I really don't have training camps. Really, the only thing that changes is my, the intensity of the training. So, I was well prepared. In every every facet of the game. So. I just let one get away from me, and it is what it is. Definitely a learning experience for me, and don't ever plan on letting another fight go to the judges again. So
yeah, we watched it, and I think we were with the majority of people. I think
I kind of felt like it was a suspect decision. I thought it was kind of should have been the other way.
Yeah, I felt it should have went to you.
Man, I definitely feel like that he for sure won round 1. Just because I was on my back the whole fight, the whole round. Rounds 3 and 4, 100% for sure went my way. So the only question mark rounds was 2 and 5. I think I got round 2 with the takedown there at the end,
yep.
And he got he possibly could have got round 5 because I think he's a little more active.
You had that takedown there at the very end that kind of the last 20 seconds of the fight, I think. And and then I'm just some dude who watches UFC on my couch every Saturday night or whatever. I'm not a judge or anything, but in my opinion, I think that was the thing that changed the game. Because if you go back and when we were watching on the Fight Pass last night, they done they did the moves of the fight or whatever, and that was the last one. And you hear the commentators that takedown was a big takedown right there at the end. That might have been enough to change it. And I was
that knee against the wall too.
Yeah, the knee against the cage. I think that was in the third.
Yeah, that was in the third.
That was big. But I think that, in my opinion, the takedown is what changed round 5. But it's one of those things where, I know it's like the most common little saying ever, but you win some, you lose some. You know, if the judges said it, what are you going to do? It's over now. I mean, it sucks. It sucks.
Like I said, you know, I think that you know, patience is one of the best things about my fighting style. But you know, in that fight, you know, I think I was a little too patient. I definitely should have pushed the pace a lot more. Because you know, at the end of the fight, I wasn't tired. I wasn't breathing hard. My heart rate was barely up. So I think if a fight goes to a decision and you're not dead tired after the fight, it's your fault if you lose.
Yeah. What's it like whenever you have a fight like that in Brazil? Like, what's it? Because before that, you'd only fought in the United States, right? I don't think you'd ever.
I had a great time in Brazil. You know, as soon as the people of Belém found out that my wife was Brazilian, and you know, I speak a little bit of Portuguese, they fell in love with me. So you know, it wasn't as hostile as I thought it would be. But you know, at the same time, it was a great experience to travel internationally to fight a guy in his hometown. And there was a little bit of a weight cutting debacle that went on as well. So, you know, a lot of things against me, to go out there.
Is that a pretty wild crowd down there?
Man, like I said, it wasn't as hostile as I thought it would be, but man, it was still just such a great time.
Yeah.
You know, got to go down there, walk along the banks of the Amazon, and you know, just see how people live down there in Brazil and stuff like that. And, you know, it was a great experience to go down there and to travel. You know, I love to travel. Me and my wife try and take an international trip every year, so you know, it was fun.
Whenever you go somewhere like that, Brazil, do you have to go down a certain day before? Can you go down like a week before and kind of sightsee, or like?
Well, you know, typically they fly us in on the Tuesday before the fight, but with it being it took us like 24 hours to get down there.
Jeez.
Because we had to fly to Houston, and it's a 10-hour flight from Houston to Rio, and then another 4-hour flight to Belém with a 12-hour layover. So it took us, you know, over a day to get there. And so I knew that was going to be an issue. So I got there the Saturday before the fight. So I was down there for a full week before the fight, and I think that was very beneficial to adjust to the weather and stuff, because you know, the weather's backwards, you know, south of the equator. You know, their winter is our summer.
No way.
I don't know how I didn't know that. But
I don't. Yeah.
That's
How did we not even know that?
Yeah. So you know, it was pretty chilly up here, and then going down there, it was like 98 degrees with 97% humidity. So.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it's like down here in North Carolina almost. That's even
Yeah.
worse.
Oh man, trust me. There's very few places where it's as humid as it was down there in Belém. So.
God.
That was probably a good idea to get used to the jet lag too. Have a full week and all that.
You know, jet lag, and then you know, I was walking to the cage at 3 a.m. in Belém because of the time difference and stuff. So, you know, I had to get adjusted to the time, get used to be up and moving and training at the time that I was going to fight. So, but you know, other than the little stuff like that, you know, it is what it is. You know, I had a great time. I wouldn't trade it for anything. You know, I just would have been more active in the fight.
Do you so whenever you go down to like another country like that, do you take your whole team with you and kind of like do light sparring or light sessions all week, or like?
Yeah, so me, my coach, and one of my training partners go down there, and you know, we move around. You know, all the hay's in the barn at that point. It's just staying sharp.
Yeah.
And cutting weight at that point. So.
Well, 97% humidity, that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, really. So, actually, I cut my last 2 pounds by walking around the streets of Belém with the sauna suit and sweats on. So.
Whew. Gosh.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, hearing all that stuff makes the fight, like, your performance even more impressive. Because we just watched it and we were already thinking that, but, like, knowing all this went into it, it's even crazier.
No, it was crazy, but, you know, like I said, I'll go back to Brazil and fight again. You know, I want to see what Russia's like. So I'd like to go fight in Russia. I know UFC is going to Russia in September, I think. So,
Yeah, end of this year, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
that'd
like
be fun.
They rumored that Khabib fight over there or something. I've heard a lot of people saying.
Well, I mean, Khabib's the champ, so it's not going to be hard to find him an opponent. I think they want him to fight Conor. But, at the same time, if Conor's not trying to fight, then, they'll probably get Kevin Lee or Tony Ferguson or somebody over there to fight Khabib.
I'd like to see a Kevin Lee and.
Yeah, I'd be down for all three of those.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
I think Khabib's the man. I think
he's an animal, ain't he?
Tough to knock him out.
God, that dude. You hear like Cormier and those guys who are like 240 pounds talking about how when he's on top of you in practice, it's like the pressure's unreal and he weighs like.
Yeah.
Well, he walks around really heavy, like 200 pounds, but. They say a little guy like that they have a hard time wrestling him in practice.
I feel like
crazy.
that dude's like a psycho. Like when he says like when cage closed, I think it's like the most intimidating thing ever.
So
yeah.
So we saw on your was it yesterday we saw on your Twitter that you said something about you gonna be back in the cage or something here soon.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't make an official announcement until the UFC does so first, but definitely fighting before the end of the summer.
All right.
Nice. Yeah, we don't want to get you in trouble or anything. We just are excited that there's a fight coming up.
Yeah, everybody forget you heard that. Well, you didn't hear that from here. That's not.
Well, I think you just can't say the opponent.
Yeah, so hopefully in the next week or so, the UFC will put it out there, and then I can do the same.
No, we'll definitely be retweeting it and sharing it everywhere.
Yeah, we'll be watching it too.
Yeah, we watch about every.
Yeah, we'll buy any fight that we have like a little reason. We basically look for a reason to buy every pay-per-view.
Well, it shouldn't be hard, man. There's a lot of stuff coming up this summer with some interesting matchups.
There's some good cards this summer. There's some really good cards coming up. I like the one next weekend. The Chicago card's going to be pretty good. That's your weight class, middleweight, right?
Yep.
What do who you think on that one? Who would you take if you had to think about it right now?
Man, I think I don't know. I think that what do you call it? I think that Robert Whitaker has had a lot of stuff in his way. With he had like staph infection and he had to have surgery. I think he's got a lot of stuff going on outside of the cage that could potentially affect his performance inside the cage. So I'm gonna go with Romero.
I hope he can make weight. I really hope he can make weight. That's all I'm worried about.
Well, he better if he wants the belt.
That's what I hate when a guy misses weight for a big fight.
Because then it's like the whole thing was for nothing, really. Like,
right.
I like Yoel Romero though. I think that dude's pretty cool. I like his.
He's got a checkered past, man. That dude, he's done some stuff to piss off other fighters in terms of the fairness of the way he competes. And when he fought Tim Kennedy, he didn't get off the stool to start the last round, which he should have got disqualified for, but for whatever reason, they let him have his extra time, and he turns around and beats Tim Kennedy, and he misses weight with Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold knocks him out.
Yeah, that's one thing that I can't stand is when somebody misses weight. I can't. Like Darren Till's like one of my favorite up and coming fighters in the UFC, and then he missed weight Sunday, and I was like, dude, come on, like you have all this. Like, you have all this time to prepare. Like, I don't get what the problem is.
It's annoying because that's a big part of the whole process. It's like, it's not like a little, like, unforeseen thing. It's like, that's part of the whole game.
Well, the thing about missing weight is those last 2 or 3 pounds is when it sucks the most.
No.
So, you're not really depleting yourself like the other guy is. So, you're always going to have more. So, this is like 2 or 3 pounds, man, that's like a half a gallon of water.
Yeah.
That's a big deal to keep that.
Yeah, I never even thought about it like that. That is probably really annoying because losing that last pound, like you said, that has to be even more detrimental than like the first however much you had to lose or whatever.
Yeah, those last 2 or 3 pounds are the worst. They're the hardest.
Dang.
So you're not reaching that I don't want to say breaking point, but there's a big difference for me, anyways. There's a big difference between 189 pounds and 185 pounds. A huge difference in the way I feel. And my mood, my temperament, everything.
Whenever you so like when you cut to 100, you said at the beginning you cut about 35 to 40 pounds in a fight. Um, if you weigh in at 185, what are you stepping into the cage at the next day? Like, what do you think you normally step in at?
Man, when I fought Machida, I was 218 when I got to the arena.
And you weighed in at 185 the day before.
186.
180. Okay, yeah, 180.
I always wondered this, and we never have had a chance to ask anybody. Like, what's kind of the diet like that night before the fight? Because you can eat whatever you want, I guess. So, I mean, within reason, I guess.
After I get off the scale?
Yeah.
Man, I try. I drink a lot, and I eat like rice and chicken, and I stay away from the greasy stuff. I still maintain my diet for another day. But then after the fight, I go crazy.
I know a lot of guys will go to steak, like a T-bone or something like that. But yeah, I would rather go with like
after
chicken.
weigh-ins, nah, I stay away from beef and red meat after the fight.
I would much
rather feel like really lethargic, and
I would much rather go with like you said, chicken.
Yeah, well, because beef has like a lot of saturated fat, so if you eat that, it like coats your stomach and your intestines in the grease, so your body can absorb all the nutrients like it wants to.
Yeah, I
stay away from that.
Yeah, I don't. Me personally, I don't even eat red meat because just for the reasons you're talking about, it just makes me feel bad when I eat it. But I would never want to eat it if I'm trying to like put weight back on to go fight somebody. Yeah, no, I would never want to eat red meat. That would just make me. I feel like you just feel so bad when you fight the next day. I just imagine just feeling terrible.
That's crazy. So you put on like 20 plus pounds overnight or whatever.
Yeah. Well, also, when I fought Machida, we weighed in at. I finished weighing at like noon on Friday, but didn't fight till 3 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, so I mean,
morning,
probably like almost a day and a half.
Yeah.
Isn't it usually a little bit less, like a day or less?
Yeah, I think it's like 36 hours usually.
Yeah, because the card doesn't start till usually, like if it's a regular card, it doesn't start till 10, like you're on fight night, so you were the main event. So that'd probably been like what, about midnight, 11:30, something like that. If it had been in the States. But
yeah, I'd have been fighting at like 10:30.
Yeah.
I think the lane was like 3 or 4 hours ahead.
Okay. Dang.
What's it like whenever you're fighting like later on in the card and you have to kind of like warm up, but really you don't know because the fights before you could be short or it could be long? Like I always kind of wondered about that.
When it's on TV, they know, what time you're gonna fight and stuff. So
like if it's on cable, if it's like a free card.
Yeah, and then we're watching it on the TV in the locker room, and we're warming up at. They got TVs where we warm up at, so we're sitting there watching it. So, they come in and tell you, you got an hour, you got 30 minutes, you got 10 minutes, 5 minutes. It's time to go.
Wow, I imagine that's an intense process.
Well, I mean, I just try to relax and.
Yeah, it's probably such a different perspective than like if you're doing it as an actual person, just sitting here like thinking about it. I'm like, God, that would be so nerve wracking.
Yeah,
but whenever
as a fan, you have no control over it. But like whenever you put in all the work and you've done everything you can do, I guess it's a little settling.
Well, the way I figure is, I've done everything I need to do. I didn't skip a cardio session. I didn't skip a training session. Yoga, Pilates. I prepare for a fight any which way it could go. So, I've made weight. So the only thing there is to do is to go out there and fight. And that's the fun part.
Yeah,
Dieting and cutting weight, all the stuff that you don't like, that sucks, is over with. Now it's time to go do the fun part. So, I really don't feel any pressure. So I just like to go there and have fun.
One thing that you just mentioned that I just kind of come up with a question in my head as you were talking is you said yoga. Do you feel like yoga is actually, because we're pretty big WWE fans. We love going to like the shows and stuff like that, and we hear a lot of the wrestlers, like these new guys who are, it's more of an athletic thing now, like a high flying stuff, and they all talk about how yoga's like changed their life when they get to this level. Do you think that's a pretty legitimate thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Staying flexible and limber, is also good for injury prevention. A lot of stuff happens in fights where you get put in weird positions and in training and stuff. So if your body's not ready to make those movements or, anything like that, you could, pull your hamstring or tear something or whatever. So
Yeah, I listened to Kevin Lee, I think, on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about yoga. He was talking about how like he doesn't lift weights, he just does yoga, and he might have like a 3 or 4 pound dumbbell or like a 2 pound dumbbell that he lifts weights with. But he's like, I do that while I'm doing yoga, and he's like, but I don't
yeah,
even lift weights. Yoga does all my stuff for me.
well, that's also a pretty massive dude for his weight class. So he's probably never gonna be at a strength disadvantage whenever he fights.
Yeah, that's true. He's like
He cuts a lot of weight.
pretty thick dude for 155.
But yeah, yeah.
No, I really don't lift weights. I do a lot of like high intensity interval training with like kettlebells and stuff like that. And I feel like you got to do all that stuff once again for injury prevention. Like you got to keep your muscles and soft tissue stuff healthy and happy. So yoga, man, there's just so much that goes into a fight and a training camp and all that other stuff that but it's what you got to do.
Yeah, it seems like it is changing a lot of people's careers, though. I feel like it really is a positive thing. So, when you said it, it made me ask. I've never got the chance to actually talk to somebody who does it to involve in their career. So I was like, I gotta ask somebody's perspective on that because it's one of those questions that bother me all the time I hear it. But well, man, I don't want to hold up too much of your Friday. We know you're probably a busy guy if you just got some good news, so we don't want to hold you up too much. But man, we appreciate you coming on, and we'd love to talk to you again in the future if everything works out.
I appreciate it, brother.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, have a good one. Thank you for having me.
Yep.